So that I was actually going to ask you how you found your role, right? Because so much of this sounds like, carving out a space where, uh, generally speaking, we, like, a lot of men, a lot of fathers, especially early on in being a dad, feel kind of alienated or isolated, maybe a little bit useless in a way. That's maybe a strong term, but we're not necessarily the prime caregiver. Like, we're not the prime thing, connection that our new child has, right? And a lot of what that first 3 6 months 9 months, whatever, I don't know when the light of the tunnel is, but a lot of it feels like trying to just carve out, like, as hard as I can, a role that gives me the opportunity to be helpful, a positive impact, either supportive to, mostly to my wife, honestly, that she's doing so much of the work. And I was going to ask you how you were able to sort of carve that out, but you brought this idea of, like, chaos as sort of self-organizing force, and being able to find the little things that you can control, and using those as just turn the ship as slowly as you need to, but you're turning the ship nonetheless. Have you found that this, like, this almost, like, it sounds like an epiphany, so I'm going to describe it as an epiphany, but this, like, epiphany about chaos since then has been able to sort of, like, help you? Or were you like, what, I have this ability now, but it needs this type of, like, extreme insanity around me for it to be really useful? Or are you able to actually apply that in your day-to-day life now?
Yeah, that applies to my day-to-day life, because my life has felt like utter chaos since August 13th of 2014, and not because of um, our daughter coming into our lives. It had already started. The storm started in December of 2013. So it has nothing to do with that. It just has been a decade, basically, of madness. But I had to go through the madness to arrive at a place where I am today. But I think it's slightly different. I had a slightly different experience, I think, than most fathers have, especially if they have a baby that comes into their lives, which is that we didn't have a baby. We had a teenager. And Tanai, as a teenager, she hadn't been around a lot of men. And so I was a very different figure in her life, especially when it came from a perspective of a man who nurtures. So something that she used to do in the beginning was she would, like, touch my face and my hands and my feet. And she was like she wanted to cuddle up to me a lot. And at first I was like, wait a second, you're almost a grown woman, and I don't know if this is appropriate. Like, with a baby, you're snuggling, you kiss him, and you do all these things. But with a teenager, how do you do that? Anyways, this is something that came up in therapy, and said, no. Our therapist explained, she's just exploring you. She may look like a 16-year-old, but inside, this is a child exploring something completely new. And that led to a place where every day we would sit on the couch, and she would sit like in a little ball, like a baby. And she called it daddy sitting. I need to do some daddy sitting. And this we did for weeks, maybe months. And just in doing the holding of the baby, kind of like the skin to skin thing, we connected, and we created an attachment. And that started leading to me taking on more of a motherly role. And this is where, in our family, our roles are kind of reversed. It's I am the nurturer, and Tanya is the provider, structure, pattern, standardizing, logistics person, and kind of support system to me, being the nurturer in that case. And of course, as time went on, we started to change our roles a little bit more. And it has evolved. But yeah, I don't know how I got to that point, but yeah, it was a very different experience, bonding with her and what my role was. I was the nurturer for sure. I would be the one that, if she, like with a baby, you have to help them regulate. She needed assistance in self-regulating. So I would put her to bed, I would rub her back, or, scratch her head or massage her hands or speak to her or read her something, or, rub my belly kind of thing. Uh, I would put her to bed. And then in the mornings, I would be the one who was there to help her get up, get ready, get to school, kind of thing. So
It's
yeah,
just
it's a very different experience, but at the same time, the same.
it almost sounds like you had like an accelerated crash course of like the first like 5 years of a child's life of getting to know and sort of like connect with your new daughter. And a lot of what you're describing, it sounds like what the skin to skin thing, they really hammer that home at,
Hmm.
with doctors, and we had midwives, we had a doula. They hammered it home, skin to skin. If the baby is stressing or if the baby's fussing, like your first option once you figure out if there isn't anything that's actually harming them is like go skin to skin. That's gonna calm them down really quickly. And so the first like couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe, anytime our son was having like a really hard time or really fussing or just not really feeling okay, we'd go into our bathroom, blast the shower so it gets a little bit like damp and humid and warm in there and it has a little bit of ambient noise, and just skin to skin, like all three of us like crowded on the toilet seat, sitting with him cradled between us. Um and it really does help with that bonding. And this whole idea of like this accelerated path to fatherhood, it's almost like the intensity of the experience was crammed into a relatively short period of time because you had to get caught up to speed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we did the whole thing, exactly what you do with a baby. And this is something that I've only been able to learn now, having a baby in my life. Uh, we did the same thing with a teenager. It's just that we did it. It maybe took 6 months. Within 6 months, we saw her emotional evolution occur. And it was the same care that you give a baby. We were just a little bit later in the picture, but she got it. And that connection, we've gone through so much that I'll have to write a book about this. And of course I need to get tonight's permission to be able to share these things, but we've gone through so much turmoil. And when I look back at what we've gone through, and being able to see that we're still connected, that we're still a family unit, it just tells me that that bond that occurs, that creates a family unit, that creates a mother-daughter, mother-son, father-son, father-daughter relationship, goes beyond biology. It goes beyond our genes. It's something that happens in a proximity with one another that is open to letting go of all expectations, all agendas, and just being. And this is something that became very clear for me, where one day Tanai said to me she wanted to have a mentor, and I was like, mentor? You don't need a mentor. I'm your mentor. Right? It's like, what are you talking about? Because I felt like, hey, that's my job. I'm the one that fixes things, And then I realized she doesn't want me to fix nothing for her. She just wants me to be there for her, to simply be a figure that she can come to, or she can lean on, and that's it. That's all I had to do. And arriving at that place required me to remove all my little stories and my ego and my my made up needs for her to be or do something in a certain way. And that's very powerful. And that, I think that's the essence or the foundation of family.